You see why I said that she should have been on Team USA? You see why I had to go off on the likes of Cheryl Swoops and others who were clearly distant and dismissive of her, no matter how much they try it? There was resentment towards her, and here's why I said it was.
Stephen A. Smith has set the internet ablaze with a scorching hot take on the WNBA, and now everyone's buzzing. The big question: why would Stephen A. risk his career and reputation for such a bold statement? Before his WNBA remarks put him in the spotlight, Smith was already navigating a turbulent situation with none other than LeBron James. Yes, King James himself. It all began subtly, as Stephen A. delivered his trademark bold opinions on ESPN's First Take. But this time, he ventured into risky territory by questioning the legitimacy of Bronny James as a future NBA player. And the reason behind his stance may surprise you. Smith suggested that Bronny's path to the league was more about family legacy than raw talent. Unsurprisingly, LeBron quickly responded, both on social media and in sideline interviews. He called out the narrative surrounding his son and accused Stephen A. of using his influential platform to take unnecessary shots.
First Take, my day job on ESPN earlier this morning, and I spoke about this, and I felt the need to elaborate even further because a couple of people text me and pissed me off, and they know who they are. People close to LeBron James talking to me about questioning him as a father. Come on, y'all. I mean, it's got to a point where this LeBron sensitivity is just beyond the pale. You call him the second best player in the history of the game. You're insulting him because you said he's not the GOAT. You're saying that at age 40, we've never seen anybody does, but pointing out at times how he may not have hustled back on defense in a key pivotal moment, and that's a problem. You give him all the praise in the world when he drops 40, but he has a bad night, and you say he had a bad night and you're hating. It's ridiculous. But never before has it been more ridiculous than it is right now, because the reality is that we got to be real about what we're seeing when we talk about.
The feud between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James simmered for weeks, with fans, analysts, and even former NBA players weighing in. But just when you thought the tension was starting to die down, the timing couldn't have been worse. As the drama with LeBron began to fade from the headlines, Smith made another bold move, a high-profile defense of Caitlyn Clark. While Clark herself hadn't stirred any controversy, her massive popularity in the WNBA and the way the league and media elevated her began to ruffle some feathers. Particularly when you take into account how long black female athletes have struggled to get even a fraction of that same attention. And then, out of nowhere, Stephen A. wades back into the fire, arguing that Clark is being unfairly criticized for factors beyond her control and should be celebrated, not condemned.
Clark, all right? The Indiana Fever star was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year earlier this week, and she took time to acknowledge that race played a role in her success this year. Here's a passage from the article in Times Magazine. Quote, "I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing," end quote. You see why I had no problem with her being Times Athlete of the Year? You see why I said that she should have been on Team USA? You see why I had to go off on the likes of Cheryl Swoops and others who were clearly distant and dismissive of her, no matter how much there was resentment towards her, and here's why I said it was.
But what if I told you that's not even the worst part? In stepping up to defend Caitlyn Clark, Stephen A. unknowingly opened a whole new can of worms. Critics quickly began drawing comparisons between how he treated LeBron's family and how he was now shielding Clark. Some saw a glaring double standard. Why go after Bronny for allegedly riding on his father's coattails, while defending Clark, who also benefits from unprecedented media amplification? This is the part that shifts everything.
Into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights. She automatically and instantaneously improved the conditions. Attendance is still lagging. WNBA is still losing money compared to what you would hope it would earn, but clearly things are on an upward trending trajectory. It's improving, and she has everything to do with it. Attendance for Indiana Fever games? Are you kidding me? WNBA draft, games on ABC, ESPN, television ratings. She's directly responsible. And people were resenting her for it like she was the cause of...
This parallel began to shift how the public viewed Stephen A's commentary style. Was he genuinely advocating for fairness across the board? Or was he simply hopping from controversy to stay relevant? But here's something most people overlook. Stephen A has always positioned himself as a voice of reason in sports, the man who tells it like it is. However, in this new era of the WNBA, where conversations around race, gender, and fame are more complex than ever, his brash, no-holds-barred approach might finally be catching up with him. And then the final twist. It's something no one saw coming. The Caitlyn Clark debate isn't just about her. It's about visibility, fairness, and who has the power to shape the narrative. Somehow, Stephen A. Smith, already bruised from his feud with LeBron, has once again found himself squarely in the middle of it all.
Paint, they've got to keep it out. Clark, step back, hits a three. Defensive board or a turnover and push Pate. On a deep three.
Around women's basketball, they understand their impact and what it has done and how they are living out their dreams today.
And right on cue, Clark.
It's been the second and third.
And this is where things go completely off the rails. Just as the dust was beginning to settle from Stephen A. Smith's clash with LeBron James, a new star started to shine even brighter, Caitlyn Clark. A generational talent, a record-breaking scorer, and arguably the biggest name in women's basketball today, Clark entered the WNBA with more hype than any rookie in league history. Her jersey sales skyrocketed, her debut games sold out, and her highlights were plastered all over ESPN, TikTok, and Twitter within minutes. But that was just the beginning. Clark didn't just bring excitement, she brought numbers. Ticket sales surged, viewership ratings doubled, and merchandise flew off the shelves. Cities that had never paid much attention to the WNBA suddenly tuned in, all because Caitlyn Clark had arrived. As her star continued to rise, so did the expectations and the pressure. And the reason why? That's where it gets truly shocking.
Clark, pull up three, at one. So you love to see that DMV showing up, showing out. Clark, so the best back, triple.
She wasn't going to be able to see Katie Lou after last night's game, so today, really the first...
You see, Caitlyn Clark wasn't just becoming the face of her team. She was becoming the face of the entire league. And that's where the tension started to boil. While stars like AJA Wilson, Araik Gumball, and Nneka Ogwumike had been carrying the WNBA for years with far less media coverage, Caitlyn suddenly became the centerpiece overnight. Whether she wanted it or not, she was now at the center of a larger conversation about race, recognition, and respect in women's sports. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more complicated, that's when Stephen A. jumped in. On his show, Smith launched into an impassioned defense of Clark, arguing that she was being targeted, disrespected, and unfairly criticized by both players and fans alike. He called out jealousy within the league and demanded that people finally give Clark the credit she deserved. While his words likely came from a place of genuine admiration, they landed like gasoline on an open flame.
Clark hasn't spoken against anybody. She hasn't assisted in denying anybody else the privileges they deserve. If anything, she's tried to provide assistance. A rising tide lifts all boats. She's trying to be the rising tide that lifts the boats. And there were sisters resentful of her. Be resentful of the system. Be resentful of the folks, primarily the white folks, who basically disenfranchised y'all all of these years before she came along, who denied you the acclaim and the allure and the profits you richly deserved. But you don't take that out on Caitlyn Clark. Not her. She's the one that assists you. When black folks was marching during the civil rights era and fighting every battle they possibly could, they weren't dismissive, nor did they assist in denigrating the white people who marched with them. They saved the venom for those who wouldn't. You don't run away from people who support you. You run to them, especially when they're in a better position than you to help you.
But here's what they are not telling you. By backing Caitlyn Clark so aggressively, and seemingly ignoring the years of struggle and lack of media attention for black WNBA stars, Stephen A. opened himself up to massive backlash. Players started speaking out, fans took to Twitter, and critics accused him of erasing the contributions of black women in order to elevate the new face of the league. And the craziest part, it's 100% real. Clark herself didn't ask for any of this. She's just out there playing basketball. But her presence has exposed long-simmering fractures within the WNBA. Fractures that Stephen A. Smith, always eager to dominate the hot take circuit, found himself squarely in the middle of. And that's when things got dangerous. Stephen A. has always thrived in the eye of the storm, but this time, he may have flown too close to the sun. After delivering a fiery monologue defending Caitlyn Clark, one that many felt dismissed the hard work and voices of veteran WNBA players, especially black women, he triggered a backlash unlike any he's faced in his career. Stick around, because the next part will change the way you see everything. This isn't just about sports anymore. It's about the voices we elevate, the narratives we push, and who really gets to be the face of greatness.
Slow rolling their way to a form of progressive thinking that enables them to appreciate the Caitlyn Clarks of the world instead of resenting her. Which means, as always, no matter how far we've come, we still have a ways